Hey, what's up, podcast? It's Jeff. Just want to jump in here. This is a special bonus episode of Teach Better Talk. This is actually going to be the audio recording from a Facebook Live that our team is doing every single day, Monday through Friday, at 8 a.m. Eastern Time in our Facebook private group. You can get in that group at teachbettergroup.com or go on to Facebook and just search Teach Better Team. You'll see our page and then you'll see the group. Get in there. So here we go, a special bonus episode of Teach Better Talk pulled from one of our Facebook Live videos in our private group at teachbettergroup.com. Hope you enjoy.
Friday morning with the lovely P. Sloan Joseph. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am doing well, TGIF, and happy Mother's Day weekend to you.
Happy Mother's Day weekend to you. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week.
Happy Teacher Appreciation. Yes,
We made it through another week of e-learning. There's so many things to celebrate.
You are not kidding. Okay, and it looks like we are live in our Teach Better Team group, which is always my fear. I want to make sure I did this right, but I'm definitely getting to be. The more I do this, the more I'm getting comfortable with it.
It's like anything else.
You're right. Each week, and I don't know about you, but when I start out the week on Monday, I'm like, all right, here we go, another week. And then all of a sudden by Friday, I'm like, whoo, this is
still worn out. It's just it's still tired. It's just a different kind of tired. You just didn't know how much you could do from home. Seriously.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct, because that's the thing. You're trying to add all of these. In fact, I just posted something on Facebook on my Facebook page the other day, and it was about, it was a meme that was, it's impossible to keep a house clean when no one leaves. And
moving, yes, from room to room. I'm like, we're not even going anywhere. Why do we still have so many clothes to wash? What are we doing? But we're walking more now than we were before. So you get up, you walk, then you take those clothes off, and then you put on another set of clothes. And then in the afternoon, we walk again. And it's like, wait a minute. As we get healthy, our water bill is getting higher and higher and higher.
You're right. So where you're saving money on certain things like gas, you're definitely making up for it in groceries, the water bill, electricity. Right?
I've never bought so much bread in all of my life. My son is in the 4th grade. He is a growing boy, and he's averaging about one loaf of bread like every 2 days. I'm like, really? How? Like, just making up sandwiches. Now it's just sandwiches that no one's ever heard about. You're just experimenting at this point. So,
hey, you never know where that could lead.
You never know.
So just for a little background and welcome to all the people that are joining us. We have Kelly Coons. Kelly hosted our Mastery chat last night, which was a great discussion. Good morning, Kelly.
I love her.
Brianne. Good morning, Brianne. Jennifer, Holly, and Brianna. Good morning, Brianna. So Brianna, I call her my personal Uber driver. She helped me when we were at the Teach Better 19 conference.
Okay.
She had a car. I did not, because I was coming from New Jersey. And so that's where Brianna and I connected. And that's actually where you and I connected, was at Teach Better 19.
That is. I think we talked at a meetup.
We did.
We talked at a meetup, and we also were sitting there talking to Alicia Ray out of North Carolina with the educational exam book. And she and I saw each other right before all of this stuff with COVID-19 started. Alicia and I saw each other at the South Carolina Middle School Conference, and we were like, hey, how are you?
She has such a personality, as do you. So it was so great to meet. And you're obviously, so you're in South Carolina. So I don't want to give away too much. Why don't you tell everybody what it is you do, and obviously where you're from and all that good stuff?
So I live in Greenville, South Carolina, and I am the instructional technology coach at Greer Middle School, and that's within the Greenville County School District. And I just do what is necessary, because I'm, as an instructional coach, you're not a teacher and you're not an admin. You're like in this crazy island by yourself, kind of. And luckily, I have another instructional coach that's at our school. Her name is Ann Kelsey Ziebert. She's amazing. And so we're on that island together. But some places that's not the case. And I do whatever I need to do to support teachers so they can better support students and their families. And then whatever administration needs me to do to, again, support teachers, students, and their families. And so I've had 17 years of experience in education, and I've been to I've taught at your most affluent schools and all the way to your schools that receive Title I funding. I've done elementary, middle, and high school. I really like middle school. That's my sweet spot. And I think that my past experiences helped me to kind of see where our students are coming from, and then also knowing where they're going and trying to help teachers prepare them for the next step. And so instructional technology is kind of the key of what I do, but I do a lot of things on, just engagement and relationship building and, making academically safe environments for students to learn and feel valued and respected, and talking to folks about diversity and inclusion. So I do a lot of different things under that umbrella of the instructional technology coach. So even if I do a tech session, I'm going to weave all of those things into it because the technology is not the key. All those other things are what makes the technology, once you get on, takes it to the next level.
So as if you weren't busy enough before the COVID-19 closures, you must be even busier now. So can you tell us a little bit about how your job or how your roles have changed and evolved since we've been in remote learning?
Lots of meetings, lots of Google Meets, lots of Zooms. I've been able to, I answer emails all day, just being personalized. So some teachers, just like some students, they don't want to ask a question in the chat on Zoom or on Google Meet. And so I'm always available, after the chat after the meeting to answer questions. So a lot of emails, a lot of screencastify videos, walking people through, step by step what to do. Recommending certain tools. I try to stay on Twitter and Pinterest and on the internet, just trying to find, because everything is changing. So, technology was changing anyway, but it's changing so quickly now because these companies are seeing the improvements of day to day, and how you use technology in the classroom is a little different than you use it during e-learning. So I'm having to always keep abreast of those, updates. So I stay on Twitter, either hosting chats or or participating in chats. I've moderated some things with the South Carolina Department of Ed. We've done some things with EdCamp RL, which is EdCamp Remote Learning. I'm a part of a team of organizers, and Kelly Coons, who I think is on here, she is also an organizer for EdCamp Greenville. So we had just done that February the 22nd. I think we probably were the last people to do EdCamp before they shut everything down. And we had over 300 people. So that event would not have been able to go on because we did have one in South Carolina that had to cancel or, delay until reschedule for another time. So because of EdCamp Greenville, I got connected to EdCamp Remote Learning. So we did that through Flipgrid. So that gave some teachers an opportunity to learn more of how you can use Flipgrid for e-learning. Just doing a lot of reading. And I will share, my staff will tell you in a heartbeat, like, I don't care what time it is. Sometimes I try to save it till in the morning, but sometimes I get real excited about a tool and I'm like, they might get up before I do. So let me send it. And then as soon as they log in, they'll get this tool. And anything that I can find, a tip or a trick that's I feel like is going to help the teachers have an easier day, I'm going to shoot that in an email to the entire staff. And you use what you need to use. And if you don't need to use it now, but you use it later, you just put it away. And so that's what I've been doing. It's just helping everybody out. We still are interviewing. After I get off of here, I've got to go and interview, be a part of an interview panel. Things are still going. There's some things that have stopped, but there's some things that are still going. We still meet with our PLCs once a week, checking in on them to see if we can help them in any way with their lesson planning. And then we meet with each team. We're teamed here at our school. So each team, we meet with them to see, can we help make phone calls home to students to check on those students that haven't checked in, to encourage them to do their work. So it's a lot of different ways we're supporting teachers. And some of it looks the same, but a lot of it looks just very different now that we're at home.
I was going to say education is definitely hot. It's a hot career right now. And we'll get into that in a few minutes. But we have Alex is joining us. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning.
Christy, Jeff Kaplan. Hey, Jeff. Erin. We have, Brian, Adam, Kados. Good morning, Adam. So good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
And as you know, hopefully, because a lot of you have been in our daily drop-ins before, we can't, I'm actually reading some of the comments and the names on Facebook. So if you are commenting, please put your name in parentheses just so we know who we're talking to. But I'm very impressed, as I'm sure you are, Sloan, that all of these people are joining us first thing on a Friday morning.
Absolutely, because some of these people, I know, some folks on Twitter were like, "I'm going to try to get there because it's 5 o'clock over there," and I'm like, you know what? For you to not have met me or Rebecca, you're willing to get up at 5 o'clock. That is amazing, and I appreciate that.
I know. At this point, I think I'm getting more love from people on social media than I am in my own household.
They're tired of.
They're tired of it. Yeah.
Like, take a walk. Take a
walk. Yeah, it's, and you and I had a little bit of a discussion before we came on live, and we were talking about, and I know we want to jump into some topics here, but just in general, how grace needs to be shown, in times like this. And I think everybody is realizing that more and more each week, as this goes on. It's, you're changing, you're evolving, and you really are learning new things. It's not like, there wasn't like a learning curve the first 2 weeks and then all of a sudden that stopped. This is definitely, as you said, it's like a moving target. And so you have to change and adapt. Why don't you talk a little bit about your thoughts on that?
I just think it's just like everybody was a first-year teacher in this regard. Yeah. I think about the first-year teachers. I'm a new teacher mentor, and you want to give people space to grow. But then at the same time, you're like, man, like you didn't even finish a full year. And just when you were kind of getting into your routine, because like I used to be a related arts teacher. So our related arts teachers just got a new set of kids in January. And then this happened. You barely got through an entire quarter. You still had not known your children. And that's something like we are doing remote learning and we knew the children that we were teaching. It's going to look different in the fall if we have to do remote learning and we don't know these children. Like that's just something that's really weird that I can't wrap my head around. But as far as grace is concerned, I talk about this all the time in my podcast. I have a podcast called Greater Is in Me. It's on all of the platforms. If there's a platform you use and it's not on there, please let me know. Follow me on Twitter.
It's a great podcast.
Thank you. You can follow me on Twitter at psjoseph718 and just let me know if it's not on the platform that you're listening to podcasts. But I talk a lot about one of the things I try to say every episode is, you love yourself by giving yourself grace. And then once you give yourself grace, turn around and give it to somebody else. And so we had to love ourselves enough to say, okay, we're going to do the best. I have less than 2 days. People keep saying 2 days, but it wasn't 2 days. Let me make that clear. We came in, we got the announcement on a Sunday here. Our governor made the announcement. And so I don't know about anybody else from South Carolina, but I did not sleep well that night because I was like, what is this going to look like when we get to work tomorrow? What are they going to say? And as the technology coach, I knew that there were some tools that people could use, but had not used. And so I spent that Monday, once we had the meeting, that took a while to just explain everything to everyone. Then I had to go into training mode to train people on how to use tools that they'd never used before. Because some of this stuff you didn't have to, depending on what subject you taught. Right. And we were divided, and in 2 days, really less than 2 days, people put together packets of work for kids who didn't have Wi-Fi or their parents wanted a packet. And then a separate lesson plan for kids that had Wi-Fi. And that at the time, we thought we were going to be out for 2 weeks. So what happens is, if you really think about that, that was 10 days Wi-Fi lesson, 10 days packet. That's 20 days in a year, in a day and a half. I've never done that. No. As I've been in education for 17 years. And like I said, I've done elementary all the way to high school. I've never planned 20 days worth of a lesson in a day and a half. Yes. Who does that and where? And so you had to jump in. And then once we, rolled everything out, people had to teach their own kids at home. And it was just a lot. But I kept telling people, hey, y'all, you're doing the best you can. You had the best of intentions. Sometimes the parents didn't like the assignments and didn't understand the assignments. And technology is, the kids are one-to-one, but the parents they live with, unless they're educators, they don't know about Google Classroom and Flipgrid and Padlet and all of these things. These are not things that are used in corporate settings. These are really tools that are just used a lot for education. So there was a learning curve that parents had to go through to understand how to use the technology. And, it gets to that point where you're just like, just breathe.
Yes.
You did your best. Give yourself grace, because you can't give what you don't have. So if you give yourself grace and say, you know what, I did my best, then when someone else doesn't turn in an assignment or ask a question that you think is crazy, you can say, you know what, I'm going to give that person grace. They're doing their best just like I was doing my best.
Yes.
Because you didn't have anybody that you could call to say, how did this work successfully at your school?
Yeah.
Because here in South Carolina, we, like Ohio, I think Michigan and North Carolina were a little bit ahead of us by maybe 2 weeks. So we couldn't call them and ask them, what's been working up there, because they were still figuring it out.
Yes.
And so we all jumped in, we did the best we could, and here we are.
Yes, absolutely. And you hit a couple of interesting points, because I felt the same way. I was actually giving tutorials to some of my own friends on how to navigate Google Classroom.
Right.
And my own, fortunately my oldest son was very good. He's in middle school, already knew
Right.
what to do. My fourth grader had, he had mixed experience with Google Classroom. And
Right.
so the lower you go with the grades, the less experience the kids have with that level of technology.
Exactly.
We've had a whole bunch more people jump in here. So
Yay!
So let's see, where did I leave off here? Welcome to Kyle.
Hello.
And Stacy, D. Chanel Johnson.
Yes.
Oh, Brianne Fennel, she was the Teach Better 19. She said, I can't wait for Teach Better 20.
I know.
We have Tammy joining from Mexico.
Hey,
wow. Well, and
welcome.
You said, like, with people with, in different time zones. I mean, I know for myself, my sleeping is just off. I think everybody's sleeping's off. So you're right. If you're sending something late at night because you're awake, chances are somebody else is awake too. So
yes.
It really doesn't, I don't think you're necessarily interrupting people.
I hope not. And I hope my staff knows, like,
you have
even
the best
if you
of
get
intentions.
it at 9:00 at night, I'm not asking you to use it at 9:00 at night. I just know that everybody's schedule is off. And like, so I'm on here right now, but if another teacher is up and they're getting ready to teach, I want them to have that tool just in case I'm doing something else somewhere else. I don't want teachers to miss out. And, that's what the Greater Is in Me podcast is all about. Is my hashtag is Inform, Inspire, and Influence. I'm always trying to get information so I can share it and inspire somebody to then use it, and they can then influence somebody else. And then it just keeps, it's like a domino effect.
Domino effect. Yeah. Absolutely. Holly Stewart says, I love the Greenville, South Carolina area. The best PD I ever had was the Science Plus Teacher Institute at Roper Mountain.
I know where that is. Yes. The Roper Mountain Science Center. It's just all about science, and you can go and have field trips there. They have lessons there. They have camps in the summertime. They have events on the weekend and in the afternoon. And they collaborate with the science teachers all over our district to put on some very unique programs. And they actually have a new building that is up, and it's just amazing. Like, you can go in and like do a DNA lesson, and they have it all set up, and they are specialists that are science teachers that work there that connect those lessons to get those students. I talk about diversity and inclusion, and a part of that is, providing opportunities and access for students. There are some students in our district who they live right over by the Roper Mountain Science Center. So they have the access and the opportunity to go there often. It is a fee to get in, just like any other, museum or any other place that you would go for a field trip. And so for our students that have the greatest needs, because they don't live near Roper Mountain Science Center, or they may not have transportation to get there, they don't have those same opportunities and access. And so being that the Science Center is a part of Greenville County, then teachers connect with them throughout the year. And there are several different, there are some schools that go several times a year to connect what they're doing in the classroom to some hands-on application that you just can't do like in a classroom in a 50-minute block. They go there and they do rotations. It is amazing what goes on there. I've been there a couple of times as a chaperone with my school and also with my son as a parent. And every time I go, I'm just amazed at what they're able to do. And it makes my heart feel good for those students that don't have the opportunity and access to go, that being a part of school gives them that. And so that is something that we talked about before is, e-learning is great, but it doesn't replace those types of experiences of a child being able to touch and feel equipment and substances and go through a science project with the help of an expert side by side to encourage them. That's something e-learning cannot do. That is something that you have to be in school to do. There is nothing, any teacher that's on here, the e-learning is not replacing you. This is a substitute for now, just like a substitute teacher. And I started off as a substitute teacher, so I feel comfortable saying this.
Yes.
There is value in that. That's how I fell in love with teaching, because I was a substitute teacher. But there is nothing that I could do to replace that teacher that was absent those days.
Yes.
The love, the relationships, the expertise that teacher brings to the classroom. So I was okay for a moment, but not for long term. And just like e-learning, it's okay for a moment, but this can't be our long-term solution, because school is so much more than just the content. It is all about the relationships and being able to help a child, as we say, hand over fist sometimes, being able to sit there and talk to a child that's really having a breakdown and get them to calm down and think. There's so many elements that we bring to their lives that you just can't do through e-learning. And so for those people that are like, this is the future of education, it's an option. For some people it works for, but for so many of our families and our children, it's nothing like that human connection that you bring every day. So know your value and understand this is for the moment, but this is not a long-term solution for quality education.
And I think any teachers or most teachers would agree with you. It's, this is not when we signed up for teaching, this wasn't what we signed up to do. So we as well, in the connections you make with colleagues in your building and in your district too. So we have a lot of comments I want to get to here. Good morning, Ray. Alex says, by the way, Sloan, that yours is one of the best podcasts out there for sure.
Oh, thank y'all.
Adam said that he's a mentor too, and he worked with a first-year teacher who was doing great. So look, if you can survive this as whether a new teacher or a first-year teacher, I feel like you can do anything.
Yes, absolutely.
Jeff Kaplan says, this is what I'm looking for help with. How do we make connections with students we have not met in person? In other words, if we are, I think that's definitely a concern. So now that, I believe most states, I was just telling you before we came on, New Jersey finally announced just this past week that we will be remote learning for the remainder of the year. That was still up in the air, believe it or not. And so now that we kind of officially know that, which I think most states at this point officially know that, now the question is everybody's like eyes toward the fall. Brad is joining in. Good morning, Brad. He said, we hired a teacher at our school to start after spring break, but we never came back from spring break. So she's a new teacher filling a vacancy mid-year and has never met her students face to face. Can you imagine? So this is actually the situation for my daughter who's in second grade. Her teacher went out on maternity leave right as this all was unfolding. Her long-term sub signed her contract, and I happen to know her personally, signed her contract Thursday, March 12th, and Friday, March 13th was our last day in the classroom. And and she's been remote teaching ever since. So, kudos. Like you said, it's hard enough for us who have been doing this for years. Let alone these folks who are stepping in. I give them all the credit, really, because
she's a gem. Y'all need to get her on here. Has she been on the drop-in? Listen,
It's true.
I usually have meetings and things Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but y'all need to schedule her on a Monday or a Friday to offer some insight, because I can't even help you on that one.
Yeah, it's so true. And plus, you're dealing with second grade. So now you've got like the littles.
Another bag of jelly beans right there. A whole nother bag of jelly beans.
True. It's so true. Let's see. We said that, Jennifer Woody said she loves your podcast as well.
Jennifer.
So Alex says, Sloan, and this is a good question. What can we do today to prepare for starting school in August in a remote setting? Whatever that might look like. I think everybody's, heard ideas floating around. It might go to, part in person, part
Mhm.
remote,
A
A
hybrid.
days, B days, half days. So are there any advice that you can offer for, starting to prepare for the fall?
So depending on your position, I will say you just need to wait, because I don't want people to plan a bunch of things when you're not
Oh,
in the position to determine, is it a hybrid? Is it there's a group that comes Monday and Tuesday, another group comes Tuesday and Thursday, nobody has school on Friday?
mhm.
Is it that it's half day? We don't know. And the way you're going to do a hybrid with 15 children is different than you do it with 30. Um, Depending on the needs of your children, is it remote? Is it not remote?
Yes.
Because even in parts of our state, when we talk about inequities, I'm in an area that we have. I can see a 5G tower anytime I want to. I'm driving. There are towers everywhere, right? But there are areas in South Carolina where there's not the connection, the Wi-Fi. They need the infrastructure is not there. So what that looks like, I don't want to be the person to say, well, let's do this, because what it looks like in an area that doesn't have the infrastructure and the ones that does, that's going to look totally different. It's going to look different because it's elementary, middle, and high school. It's going to be different depending on, is it a full day schedule, a half day schedule? Are we going year round? And so we really need to wait for those people, I like to say, to get paid to make those great decisions. And then from there, I could answer that question a little bit better. My wheels can get turning, but it's so many ifs right now. Are we
Yeah.
going to start in August, or are they going to say, okay, we're not even going to start with this half day stuff. We're not even going to start with e-learning. We're going to wait until maybe September, October. For us, we go in August. We're going to wait until October and then go from there. Well, that's a whole nother bag of jelly beans, because you've got COVID-19 and flu season is what it is. And we were sending kids home and teachers had to go home just because of the flu.
Yes.
So it's just so many things that are up in the air. So I just think that we should wait. And really, a part of the grace that I talk about sometimes is just getting through today.
Yeah. No, that's
Possibly
awesome
thinking
advice.
about tomorrow, maybe Monday, but just getting through today and doing today well. Because
Yes.
if it's going well today, make a note of that. It'll probably go well when we start again. So those successes that you are having now, jot them down so that when it's time to get those wheels turning, you can jump right in and say, I don't know if this was going to work, but I know that this worked with my students for e-learning.
It's funny because in the beginning of this, we run polls in our Facebook group, the Teach Better Team Facebook group. And by the way, before I
Yeah.
forget to mention, if you are listening to this on YouTube or as a podcast, and you're not part of our Teach Better Team private Facebook group, please join. We would love
Yes.
to have you. And we do these daily drop-ins. We do a whole bunch of fun stuff. And one of the other things that we do is we create polls just to kind of see, where people are at on different topics. And one of the questions that we asked early on was, how can the Teach Better team support you, through this remote learning, adventure, let's call it that we're all going on.
Yeah.
And, and what is one of your top concerns? And one of them was just the unknown. I mean, we are a society that is so, driven by plans and planning ahead. And this has put a complete halt to that, and so you're right. When you think, we're, normally we'd be already in our minds well into summer and starting to think about the fall, whether it's personal or professional. And, we've had to put the brakes on that because there's so many moving parts and it's so up in the air. And so, you and I talked about the fact that, for us, we have been very busy still in all this, and it's given both of us a chance to kind of catch up on some personal things that we had been putting off or would not normally get a chance to do. And so there is that positive, but yet we don't. I have friends who are planning weddings that are supposed to be getting married toward the end of the summer, and I can't even imagine having these. And we talk about graduations being canceled and things like that. So there's a lot of unknowns, trips, summer plans and things like that. And it's you, but you just have to kind of take a step back and breathe and be grateful, for what you have and being healthy and things like that. Cause so many people, and having a job because so many people, are out of work now too. And I can't even imagine that, that financial stress.
Absolutely. On top of everything that's going on.
On top of everything that's going on. So let's for a minute to talk, because as I was telling you before we came on, so we officially found out, this past week that we are remote learning in New Jersey for the rest of the year. But for me, because we start school later in general, we start after Labor Day, that means that I'm going to be remote learning until June 22nd.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
I don't know when your students officially get out. When do they officially get out?
So the last day of instruction here is e-instruction is the 28th or the 29th. And then June 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th is all about like Chromebook turn in, library book turn in, pick up your yearbook, your awards, and all of that. So it's still going on till June the 4th, but definitely not June the 22nd.
Yeah. So, I've had discussions with my colleagues, and of course we are in this and we are committed. But how do you have any tips or suggestions for anybody? I mean, whether you have 1 or 2 weeks, as we talked about, each week is different and your emotions are different. But are there any suggestions for keeping up morale for both teachers and students for however long you have left, whether it's 3 weeks or 5 weeks or 6 weeks?
Well, one of the things, so what we have done, either we've done at my school or I've seen schools in my area do. So we've done some lip sync battles. The staff got together. We did the lip sync battles, and we had a battle each day. And we sent out a link online. So I push it out through social media and the website, and the teachers posted the link in their Google Classroom, and the kids get a chance to vote on the video that they like the most. And then we had a final winner, and it just was something for the kids to look forward to every day. We do a mindfulness minute. The guidance counselor recorded a video for mindfulness that the students can look at on a regular basis. I think almost all of our teachers are doing a daily check-in, just a Google form where it allows the students to express how they're feeling. And then that alerts, the guidance counselors to maybe reach out to that student for some extra support. I was on a scavenger hunt a couple of days ago, just logged on, and then they'd call out an item and you had to go get it and all kinds of things.
Like from your house?
From my house.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I did that. And then I know that my friend, Shasta Looper, she's a 4th grade teacher at a school here. She's amazing. She's done that several times with her students on their Google Meet, where the meet wasn't necessarily just about academics. It was infusing some of those fun things. Mr. Sloan, who is a social studies teacher at my school, he did a Padlet where the students could add a link to the Padlet of their favorite song. Like, what song are you listening to right now that really lifts your spirits, that makes you happy? And so the kids would get on YouTube. Now, it had to be school appropriate. And of course, he set up the Padlet so that if it wasn't school appropriate, he had to look at all these videos to make sure they were appropriate lyrics and everything. But he talked about how that got him to learn about his students, because you can tell a lot about somebody by the music that they listen to. If you're saying this is a song right now that gives you joy, I can listen to these lyrics and kind of make some quick judgments about how you're feeling or the genre of music that you like, and how do we connect in that way. So he did the favorite song Padlet. We had a spirit week. We had a virtual spirit week. One day, everybody took pictures in their, we call it Greer gear, because I'm at Greer Middle School. So if you had like a band shirt or a hoodie or whatever, you took a picture and you uploaded that. Let's see, what else have we done? I've seen fitness challenges. We haven't done fitness challenges, but I've seen that at some schools in my area. At my school, another group of guidance counselors, once a week, they do like a pause for positivity, which inspired an episode, 2 episodes on my podcast. And sometimes it's just telling corny jokes. Sometimes it's just talking about activities they can do to just help them to pause and be positive. And then I think just the daily check-ins like this, just those meetings, we know that our teachers are doing their job. We see that they're posting, but we still are meeting with them, even if they get on and they say everything's good. It's just putting our eyes on our teachers, checking in with them. We're a Capturing Kids Heart school, so we start all of our classes with good things where the kids can go around. So teachers are continuing to do that through Google Meet, but we also do that in our staff meetings, we start off with good things where people can share those successes that they're having with their students. And then we have a Padlet called Good Things, where everybody, because the Google meetings are basically grade level meetings and like related arts department and special ed department, but we have a Padlet where everybody in the school is on it, and they can go and see what's going on another hallway or another grade level that's going well, and maybe that can lift somebody's spirit. So those are just some things that we've been doing. And I also want to give a shout out to Ed Camp RL, and there's a lot of ed camps that are popping up that are doing remotely. Those things help because you're able to see, even if I'm in South Carolina and you're in New Jersey, we're going through the same thing. We're more connected than we think. And you can get some good ideas about how to lift the morale of your staff by just doing things like this. Maybe I gave some ideas that some people can take back.
You gave me some ideas.
Absolutely. Good. And right after this meeting, right after I get off of here, we're planning our virtual awards day. We're still going forward with awards day. It's going to look a little different, but we're trying to figure out what does that different look like. But we're still going to celebrate the students and what they've done this year.
No, I think that's great. I got some great ideas. I was like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. Oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. I think
Yes.
that is, and the kids like that. They really do. My son, speaking of the songs, he had a language arts assignment in 7th grade where he had to come up with like a playlist that represented his life.
I like that.
So he was asking, me for some input and stuff like that. And then he had to explain why the song resonated with him. And I think you could apply that to almost any subject, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So Holly says all of the unknowns are really hard to contend with. I know it is out of my control. Yeah. And as teachers, we're used to having a certain amount of control. So that's what's hard about this. Yeah. But I need to focus on the here and now. But there's a part of me that is really struggling with all of those what ifs. Holly, you are not alone. I am struggling daily with that myself. A lot of people like the lip sync challenge ideas. Andrea said she loves the lip sync challenge, and
it was so much
things I love Padlet. Adam says, I have a YouTube channel and I love the idea of a playlist of uplifting songs. I also have a YouTube channel as a teacher that I really need to, that's kind of one of my goals, is to make it more, I've kind of been uploading videos of myself, like instructional videos of myself for the students, but I do want to maybe do some more fun things that I could post, because all the kids are on YouTube, right?
Yes, so, they are.
Just to kind of, do some more fun things. And I like that scavenger hunt idea. I think that's cool. I'm trying to incorporate, as a science teacher too, I teach math and science, I'm trying to incorporate more hands-on things where it's like just grab some recyclables from around your house and build, whatever it is. Just so that every activity is not on a computer or on a device. When it's nice weather, I go by the weather here. And so I have like outside choice boards of things that they can do. So I found they definitely relate to things like that. So
choice is good.
It is good. And, you find, as we've said, like as you go through each week, you find what's working, what's not. And you really have to, you have to be flexible. I mean, I've talked about this a couple of times now on the Daily Drop-In, but flexibility is one of those terms that is associated with was associated with teaching before, but now even more so. It's such an important,
whole another level.
Yeah. And Kelly says, love the playlist that represents their lives. Yeah. And explaining, why. And do you know how much we could learn about them? Absolutely. And that was, I was looking at it. He was, I don't think he realized it at the time, but I was definitely looking at that through a teacher's eye. I said, oh, they're probably trying to, it's a way to check in with the students. I mean, he's in 7th grade. So, those kids, the middle schoolers definitely, they tend to keep their emotions, a little more, to themselves. So, this was a kind of a good way of getting it out of them without making it too obvious.
Absolutely. And, as we talk about, these are the things that I read about. These are those things I was talking about. If it works for your population, write it down so that you can do that in the fall with those kids that you don't know. That's, I don't know. We don't know what it's going to look like. But if you do these things, because a lot of this stuff isn't even academic. And so we're going to have to do more of that, getting to know our students and letting them get to know us. We're going to have to spend a lot more time on that, laying that foundation, because that's harder to do distance, during e-learning. But we'll get there. We'll
Yes.
get there, and it'll be fine. We as teachers are innovative and creative. We always make it work. We always we keep at it. We keep reflecting about what did work, what didn't work, and we keep at it. We don't give up. Twitter, I'm sure when that time comes, people are going to talk about their successes and their failures, and then we'll learn again. This will be a new phase of education, but we're going to come out of this stronger. And we'll appreciate when we are face to face with one another. We'll appreciate it a little bit more.
Absolutely.
I can't wait for the time I could say, you know what, we could be in COVID-19. If a child, complains about school, or a teacher complains about school, it's like, but you know what, we could be in spring 2020. Remember spring 2020? And it's like, oh, you know what, you're right. Let me stop. Because I'm all about, you let somebody vent, but I'm like, okay, do you want just to complain, or do you want to complain, get it out so we can come up with some change? If you want to complain in order to change, okay. And so you let somebody just vent, whether it's a student or an educator. And then if they go too long, you say, well, it could be COVID-19 where we were stuck in the house.
It is true.
But let me appreciate even these uncomfortable things. So we'll grow, we'll learn from it, we'll be better for it. I'm
gonna look into this EdCamp RL. I know you have to go in a minute, so I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah, just look up the hashtag.
Yes.
Hashtag EdCamp RL.
And
it's still up. It's still up.
Okay.
It's on Flipgrid, and so once you join, it's you can go in. I want to say there were 13 topics, and you just could go in and watch these videos from different people from all over. I think it was 30 states, 6 countries, over 1,200 responses.
Wow.
And it was broken up like I did, things like the morale is something that a lot of people, I've talked about it quite a bit. People continue to invite me to different platforms to talk about it. And it never gets old because it's important.
It's super important.
It's super important because if morale is high, then you're going to get more productivity.
Yeah.
But there was parts about diversity and inclusion, special ed and ELL, connecting with parents. How do you connect with kids who don't have Wi-Fi? There was a section that was just for how do you connect with high schoolers, the older kids.
Yeah.
So it was so many very specific topics. So definitely look up hashtag EdCampRL. And if you have any problems getting in or whatever, let me know, and I can let the guy know, Kyle, who he may be on here, I'm not sure, who organized the entire thing. I can get in contact with him and some other of the main organizers to make sure you can get in.
Okay, and I just want to say too, and we talked about the importance of keeping in touch with other educators, and and talking about these important topics. And the Teach Better team, if you are not aware, has a free webinar series that is running. There was one this past week. You can start registering for next week. If you are not able to join them live, you can watch them on the Teach Better Team website as a replay. So we have a lot of great things coming up. Go to teachbetterteam.com and register for those, because we have some great topics coming up there too. So Sloan, I am so thrilled that you were able to join me this morning. I really appreciate it. It was a great conversation. I know you're a busy lady. We were trying to figure out a day for you because you're very popular and everybody wants to talk to you. So
thank you.
I really appreciate you joining me. And happy Teacher Appreciation, an early happy Mother's Day. I hope you have a great weekend. And we look forward to continuing to stay in touch.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning. Have a great Friday and a happy weekend. We'll be back on Monday morning. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.